Manila's pavement during the summer months is completely unforgiving. The heat radiates right through the soles of your shoes, and for the thousands of laborers working outdoors, escaping that sweltering climate is basically impossible. But recently, surviving that heat became a target for law enforcement. In just 1 week of the government's Safer Cities campaign, police logged over 61,000 separate violations across the country. And if you look closely at that data, a massive chunk of those offenses had absolutely nothing to do with violence or theft. Nearly 6,000 people were flagged for a single, highly specific infraction, walking the streets without wearing a shirt. The police zeroed in on exactly who you'd expect. The people stopped, scolded, and humiliated at transport terminals and side streets were mostly laborers, porters, and vendors, men just trying to cool down while working in cramped, boiling conditions. The backlash was immediate. Photos flooded social media, and human rights groups quickly pointed out what was actually happening on the ground: an aggressive public order campaign that overwhelmingly targeted the urban poor. The underlying message sent to those workers was brutal. It effectively declared that your exhaustion, your sweat, and your physical body itself were now being treated as a crime scene. This crisp, meticulously embroidered barong Tagalog represents the uniform of a protected class. While the streets are swept for bare skin, the world of elite politicians and favored contractors operates under this shield of formal respectability. For years, vast sums of public money have been allocated for critical infrastructure, specifically flood control projects. And for years, billions of those pesos have vanished into substandard or entirely non-existent ghost projects. While contractors and politicians quietly siphoned off that budget, ordinary citizens were left to physically endure the consequences. When the typhoons hit, those missing funds translated directly into overflowing rivers and communities drowning under feet of murky water. By late 2025, the frustration boiled over. Thousands of people took to the streets, demanding actual accountability for the washed-out homes, the missing money, and a system that allowed this to happen. It exposed a massive contradiction. The government repeatedly claimed these sidewalk crackdowns were for public safety, yet it completely ignored the boardroom theft that was literally leaving entire neighborhoods underwater. What we are actually looking at is a system operating at 2 entirely different speeds. If you are a shirtless porter hauling boxes in Recto, justice is instantaneous. You face immediate confrontation, public humiliation, and sometimes outright arrest. But if you are a powerful official tied to a multi-billion peso anomaly, the process slows to a crawl. You are granted polite hearings, respectful reviews, and endless bureaucratic inquiries that drag on for years. The patrols themselves are geographically rigged. The police aren't raiding gated communities or executive subdivisions to check for minor infractions. They stay strictly within cramped alleys and transport terminals. The state expends immense energy swooping down on a shirtless tricycle driver, but suddenly loses all that urgency when it comes time to freeze the bank accounts of corrupt contractors. The authorities know exactly how to act swiftly and decisively. They simply reserve that speed for citizens who have no money and no lawyer on speed dial to defend themselves. Campaigns like Safer Cities function essentially as costume design for power. The state puts on the costume of being firm but fair by heavily policing highly visible, minor annoyances on the sidewalk. Meanwhile, big-time thieves put on their own costume. By showing up in formal attire and speaking calmly about structural reform, they project the image of respectable leadership while actively pillaging the public budget. These crackdowns prioritize the management of visibility. By aggressively sweeping the uncomfortable realities of poverty out of sight, the state provides a manufactured sense of order for the middle-class commute. Here is the reality. A man walking shirtless down a hot Manila street has never caused a single peso of structural damage to the country, but men in barongs, quietly signing sweetheart contracts, have cost billions. If we actually want safer cities, we have to stop obsessing over what the urban poor are wearing and start aggressively tracking where the public wealth is disappearing to.